Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to present to you Commander Gerald Cook, United States Navy.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is an amazing day, amazing place, great turnout, and I see so many familiar faces, some that I haven't seen for a long time, and it's just super cool to see you guys here. It really means a lot to me. So I did it the hard way. I earned it. What do you think of that, Keith? Right? It's like other officers didn't earn it. Yeah, some people might debate that, but you know, I didn't really consider myself a Mustang when I got commissioned. I got commissioned into the Nurse Corps 2002, and what that was for me was I got to leave the nuclear power field in the submarine force. It was my way out. And then I was doing a complete career change. I was going into healthcare, so it was very meaningful to me in that way, but sometimes people would refer to me as a Mustang, and I would, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. But I didn't even really think they were using the term correctly. Prior to the Navy, I had tried going to school. I was working full-time. I tried to do things my own way, and nothing was really working well. I did not value grades, so a 2.0 is passing. Unfortunately, I didn't have a 2.0. It was less than that. So I was technically failing, and I also didn't have a way to pay for school. So I thought, well, for some reason, going to school seemed important to me, and I signed up for the GI Bill. That's it. It wasn't all that patriotic. I was making a transaction. I was going to do a few years and come into the Navy, get my $10,800, and go to school. They talked me into the nuclear power program because it's education focused. They saw like a thread that they could pull. So that's a 6-year commitment. That's kind of where I messed up first, right? I thought maybe I would just go in and be a deckhand for 2 or 3 years. And really being a deckhand, the only thing I knew about being a deckhand is going on a fishing trip where they have these deckhands that, wield the gaff and bait your hook for you. Mm-hmm. So I really had no idea what I was getting into. Absolutely none. And I don't know that most people do, but I was not military focused. The military was nothing on my radar until 2 days before I joined. So I didn't read military books. I didn't watch military movies. I did grow up in a military town, if you want to call it that, Fairfield. It's where Travis Air Force Base is. But I understand that the Air Force is really just a civilian organization that they wear uniforms at. So,
Exactly right.
In fact, I remember something that a airman told me. I was working at McDonald's, earning $3.35 an hour at the time, and this airman was working there too, and he was just moonlighting, getting some extra money. I guess that should have been a warning to me.
Yeah.
But he said, oh yeah, the military, you go in for 8 weeks, they yell at you, and it's a joke, and then you go and you just have a regular job. So I'm like, oh, okay, So that's when this $10,800 thing sounded like pretty good. Just go, I can get yelled at for 8 weeks, do a regular job, then take my money and run. Then my first day in the Navy, I remember too many details of these days, but I'll just share a little bit with you. I was put in charge. So I showed up to Oakland. They handed me my orders and 2 other people's orders with all their medical stuff. And they said, you're getting on a plane, you're taking these 2 people with you to boot camp. And I was like, oh crap, like, what if they run away? Am I gonna go to jail? I didn't know what that meant. Really getting into boot camp is just mass confusion. I didn't know north from south, east from west. As soon as I landed in Orlando, I was totally confused. I didn't know which direction I was going. I had a great sense of direction before the Navy. I swear I do. I can't find my shoes in my own house now. I can't find anything. I don't know. The only reason why I got here is because Molly took me here. have you follow a yellow line so you don't get lost. Following this yellow line, it's just filling in blocks, forms, go pee in a cup, all this fun stuff. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, the Navy's not going to be like this. This is just the first day. And shown my barracks at 3 a.m, up all day, up early, 3 o'clock in the morning, my barracks, it's full. I don't even see that there's an empty bunk in there, but apparently they had one, so I found it and lie down in there. People are snoring, it stinks. Ventilation was obviously horrible. They need to increase the ventilation in there. They got little red lights, for like night lights, but you can't see anything still. And they told me, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna wake up pretty soon. So I just lied there, just waiting, and then I heard this creak of the door. And then I heard some whispering. And I'm like, okay, I think maybe something's going on. And then the lights flipped on, and BAM! Like the trash can went down. Get on the line! They're yelling at us. We're like going around crazy. I didn't even know what the line was. I hadn't seen this place in light. It was dark when I got there. So I'm running out, standing out there in my civilian clothes like everybody. And, some people are in their underwear and stuff, and they're just standing there. And I got to meet Action Jackson face to face. All right. Action Jackson was one of my recruit commanders. First class petty officer. I don't remember his rate or anything. I didn't even know what a rate was. I didn't even know what a rank was. But he got up in my face. Huge guy. Totally ripped. Muscles busting out of his sleeves. And he looks me up and down. And he says, how much do you weigh? 101 pounds, sir. He's like, looks me up and down again. He's like, you don't look like 101 pounds. I'm like, oh, sorry, 201 pounds, sorry. And I realized at that point I was a fat ass in the Navy. I couldn't believe it. But I would not accept that I was going to fail in this Navy. Anytime a challenge came up and they were like, oh, maybe you need to go to medical and you're going to get kicked out of the Navy. I was like, no, I'm fine. This migraine I got, I don't care. It's good. I figured schooling in the Navy, how hard can that be? It's the military, right? So start the nuclear power program training, which is 2 years long. They call us up and talk to us before we even start our classes. And they're like, what are your study habits like? I'm like, I never studied. Have you seen my GPA? I never did homework, I never studied. I barely went to class, right? Yeah, the class starts, and I realize, oh, they're kicking people out left and right. So 2/3 of the nukes don't make it. They get kicked out in training. And it's not like they get to go home. The Navy has other plans for them. Yeah. And I was afraid, what is that? It probably would have been a good deal. But I didn't know. The fear of the unknown was pretty scary. So I buckled down, and actually I was terrified that I was going to fail. I remember one day, I actually called, talked to my dad after this. But I was studying for a test in nuke power school. I'd made it that far already. And it was like a light bulb came on. I totally understood what I was trying to learn. And I could just do whatever problems they threw at me. So it really felt like this enlightenment or epiphany or something. It was rather emotional. And I called my parents. I just said, I got this, And next thing I knew, I was killing it at power school. And it was a different game for me. Still challenging, still annoying, lots of hours. But one thing I did there was I learned how to study. They do a lot of memorization. So I learned how to memorize things, learned how to practice problems until I could do any problem that they threw at me. And, it is pretty cookie cutter. It's like they tell you everything that you need to know. And for some reason, most people still have, only know half of that stuff after they tell you every single thing. But it's just it's a huge volume of work. And I just could not wait to get out of that training. It's like, once this is done, life's going to be good. It's going to be sweet. right? No more of this long study hours. Like, this is absurd. 12-hour days, and then you have to come back and study more. Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, so then I get my orders to my first sub. I graduated. Got my orders in hand, go down to Norfolk, USS Lapon. I've never seen a submarine before. And they're in the water. They're like, you barely see hardly anything. There's like a little, black thing poking up, and just, I heard stories, right? Like 100 men go to sea, 50 couples come up, that kind of thing. But I had no idea what it was. And I didn't believe that anyway, right? So I get there. I'm like, I'm here to check in. And they're like, all right. They call this guy up, and this guy's like, he's one of my senior ELTs, but he's all dressed sloppy, second class. He don't care. He's dirty. We weren't allowed to have dirty uniforms when we were in school. We were all, everything was pressed and everything. No, his keys were popping out of his pockets because they had holes in them, and nobody seemed to care. His boots certainly did not have a shine on them. They were just all scuffed up. And he comes up and he's like, all right, come with me. I'm like, okay. So we go down the hatch, and this is like a vertical ladder. Some of you I know have been on subs and stuff. It's no joke. Like, it is straight up and down. Go down this thing, this stench that was coming up from the sub. I was like, what the heck is this? This is not BO. It's worse. It's worse than that. And it just like stings the eyes. It was horrible. Get down there, and they said, welcome aboard, Nub. Bam! Punch right to the chest. Almost knocked me down. And I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, that was a heart check. We have to make sure your heart's going to keep beating after we hit you. I'm like, okay. Well, everybody I saw that day did the same thing. Yeah, that was my welcoming. And I don't think it's that unusual, right? So then I'll jump forward a little bit. This last year, this COVID thing, I know it sucks for everybody. I didn't know if this ceremony is going to happen. I really just kind of took a chance because I felt bad for people that weren't able to have the ceremony last year. And I got asked to go help out with this COVID stuff. John and I were like crying over this stuff all the time. Like, what did we get ourselves into? Public health is supposed to be a good life. And I get out of it. I'm like, I'm free. I don't have to do this anymore. All right, I passed the torch, passed the baton. And then I get an email. You're deploying in 2 days to the Ronald Reagan to help them with COVID. Like, seriously. So 2 days notice, fly out to the Reagan, three weeks in this, horrible barracks room for my quarantine, and then flown out, basically wrapped up in plastic, flown out to the Reagan, and I'm on this COVID team. So we're having one of our first meetings. There's this guy, Gunny. Gunny was his name, his call sign, right? So the call signs become their name, right? So if you don't know, in the flight community, he was a commander. I don't really know what his real job was, and I don't know why they called him Gunny. But we're sitting at this meeting. He sees I have Silver Dolphins on, and the Silver Dolphins are the warfare pin that the enlisted earn when on submarines. And he goes, oh, you're on subs. What'd you do? I said, I was a nuke machinist mate. And he goes, oh, you were a nub. I said, yes, I was. And that's all we said. And so he had a little smirk on his face. He heard of nubs, apparently. And I might be like, I don't think these are like really, secrets for the security of our country, but it is kind of a submarine secret. So, that's okay, because I'm moving on. But a nub, N-U-B, stands for non-useful body.
Oh.
And you carry that title around with you until you become useful. So on a submarine, there's limited resources, right? It makes sense. It's a small space. It's not the world, it's not San Diego. You don't just create more racks. You don't get more oxygen. You don't have more water. You have limitations on what you have when you're out there. You have limitations to your food. There's only so much sewage you can put in the sewage tank. And a nub just eats up resources and does absolutely nothing for anybody. So they're kind of despised. Even though you need new people, right? I mean, it's every career field, you need new people coming in. But the nub comes in, the new guy, and is replacing somebody that's been there for 4 or 5 years. So it's a huge loss to, they have very limited staffing. So they hate the nubs. So the nub, there were nub rules, and I'll only share a few of them with you because we have a mixed audience here and I don't want to put myself on report. But one of them was, when given a heart check, nubs will reply with, "Thank you, may I have another?" And when you do that, you get another heart check. And it's this vicious cycle. It's like the song that never ends. So they just keep hitting you until you finally stop. Another rule was, nubs are best seen, not heard. Ass up and bilge. So, first field day, only a few days into the Navy. They're like, "All right, nub, into the bilge." I wasn't really sure if they were serious or not. They're like, "Yeah, you get down in there." Like, is this I heard about these practical jokes they pull on people, on ships and stuff. And they're like, "Nope, get in there. You go over this pipe, under that one, between those." So I start doing it. I start crawling down there. And, these pipes don't budge. They're welded to the ship. So if you're laying on this pipe, it hurts, right? I have to exhale to shrink my barrel chest just a little to squeeze through some pipes to get down in there. And then when I'm there, what I'm doing is lying half in this oily water, half on pipes. And then they're like, "Okay, here's this hose, we're gonna pump out the water." So I get to hold the hose down there, pump out the water. All right, wipe up the oil and water, wiping it up. Meanwhile, more water's coming in. It's not like it stops leaking water. It keeps coming. And then the XO comes by. I'm like, "Oh, these guys are busted," right? And the XO's got his mag light with 8 D cells in it. He kicks it on. He's like, shining down in the bilge, looking down there. "Is there any water down there?" And he's like, "Oh, who's down there?" And they're like, "That's our new nub, sir." And he's like, "Good place for him." And he walked off. And I'm like, this place is unreal. Nobody, 2 years of nuke training, they never told me any of this, right? They just told awesome sea stories of how awesome it is on a submarine and you should volunteer for it because it's really cool. No. Right after that, we have training. And the Navy goes through these little, they have a problem, so they start doing training about whatever, right? It's important, but they always address whatever the hot topic is at the time. And it was hazing. There was no more hazing in the Navy. 0 tolerance. Navy's policy, no hazing. I'm sitting there looking at the trainer, first class, and he's reading all this stuff verbatim. Everybody else is sitting there in the mess decks. We're just listening to him, nodding. And I'm thinking, all right, they get it. Hazing's done, right? Okay, training's over. And the beatings began. There was no delay. I'm just like, what's wrong with these guys? I know they're smart. They just heard the training. There's no hazing. What are they doing? So that's what it's like getting to a submarine for a young sailor that's never been to sea. And it is a little bit of a rite of passage in that you can't tolerate people that aren't part of the team. You have to have people that are committed. My commitment was, I just didn't want to get kicked out, right? Because you don't really get kicked out. You get kicked out of that and you go to something that could be a whole lot worse. So let's see. I took some notes and I didn't even look at them. I'm proud of myself. Until now. All right. So nukes hate their job. It's really kind of weird. Like, we go through this training, we like it, we think we're learning things, we're learning a skill. We're gonna go, oh yeah, it's not just a job and it's an adventure, right? No, it's a war machine is what it is. I mean, our job is going to war. It's not an adventure. That's the new thing is, you know, sailors are forged by the sea. It's all marketing stuff. Our job really is to get on that warship, take it out, be in position, be ready to put warheads on foreheads, support troops that are on the ground, spy on our enemies, follow enemy submarines and enemy ships, know what's going out in the sea lanes.
Yeah.
It took a while to learn that. It took a long time because really most of the time we're just in our misery, right? All the work hours and the expectations. Right now, Navy medicine is talking about how they want to be like the nuclear power field and the submarine force and NASA because they want to be a high reliability organization. And everything I see, I'm like, you don't know what you're doing. You're nowhere close. Like, you can't be nice to people. You have to draw the line, you know? And Navy medicine, really medicine in general, really protects people. They protect their careers. People invest a lot in their career. And they're not, I'm afraid that they're not really going to reach the goals that they want. They might get better. I have faith. Yeah, so I just wanted to get out of that. And the problem is the Navy has some programs and they sound cool. And then it's like, nukes need not apply. That's the response. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. Nukes need not apply. You're a nuke. Your job is to be a nuke, and that's all you're going to do. Well, in 1993, 4 years into the Navy, I learned about the medical enlisted commissioning program. And it was to go to school, to a nursing school, get a degree in nursing, get a commission in nursing, and then you could be a commissioned officer, and 10 years I could retire. Or something like that. And I was like, I was so excited, I was shaking. Like, I have not been that excited ever another time in my life. I knew that is what I wanted. I joined the Navy for education. This was going to provide it to me. Not only that, I was going to get off this stinking sub, and I was going to get out of the nuclear power field, which is just horrendous. And I was going to help people. I was going to go into a helping profession. And I thought, I can make these requirements. So I went down the checklist, met all the requirements. Hardest thing I had to do at the time in my life, and denied. I was pretty pissed. So I pushed on. I'm like, okay, how can I make this better? Well, 4 applications, and 6 years later, I finally started school at Point Loma Nazarene. And that was the pivotal moment really in my life, more so than going to medical school. It got me out of that career field. It got me onto something new, change of environment, going into healthcare. It was awesome. My experience at Point Loma was really like none other. It was phenomenal. I see a lot of nursing students now that are in the Navy, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go to National University, 1 course at a time, 3 weeks, whatever. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're missing out on. The school helped me learn how to be a person. Like, okay, coming off subs, I had like no tact, nothing. It's not required on a sub. You speak your mind. You need something, you get it. People are in your way, you push past them. I mean, subs are small. 2 people cannot be going down a P-way, that's a passageway, on a sub at the same time in opposite directions unless you just squeeze past each other. And that's what we learned to do without even thinking twice about it. Nope, no, excuse me, no, oh, did I touch you? Sorry, none of that, right? So I had to learn some of those things. And Point Loma was a great place for it. It provided me an education beyond what I really expected. And it also made me realize that I could do really anything I wanted to do. So that's when I started pursuing the medical school, not because I had this dream as a kid of being a doctor someday. It was really, I knew that there was a school and I knew I could do it. And I was already going into healthcare. This would give me just other options within healthcare, and made it happen. Captain Chalker already talked about some of the stuff, some of the challenges I had. Thank you for your speech. It was wonderful. And really, when you get into medical school, they say the hardest thing about medical school is getting into medical school. And we all laughed about it. Ha ha ha, what were we thinking? This is ridiculous. But I thought to myself, yeah, for me, that was true. The hardest thing of my medical training was getting in. Getting into the nursing program at Point Loma was really the hardest thing I ever had to do. And then getting released from the Nurse Corps had its challenges, but by then I learned to be not just a bulldozer, but to have a little finesse and make friends with people and meet people that had gone, before me and were more successful than me. So I really, and medical school is, I feel so fortunate going to medical school. The education is something that I wish everybody had that knowledge, because I find when you're in these classes, people are like, oh, we're never going to use this. We're never going to use this. Like, I don't know. I think of things all the time that I learned in medical school, and it just gives me a good perspective on life and what it is to be a human and what people deal with when they're suffering. I learned a lot of that in nursing school too, but it was just that much more comprehensive, going through medical school. So the two really complemented each other for myself, but it was really that struggle. I was not ready to do any of this when I was 18, 20, 24. The Navy kind of did forge me in a way. And it was that struggle I had in the Navy all those years, going to school, applying to these programs, getting denial letters that made no sense to me, and trying to become better. And it was worth it. I questioned it sometimes if it was worth it. Tell you a quick story. Quick story. Been up here probably too long already.
You're good.
All right. The last semester in nursing school, it's usually people's best semester because they usually have their units down. They can take like 12 or 14. They can kind of relax. They already, looking forward to getting out of school and getting their job and all that fun stuff. And I had to finish up stuff to get to medical school. So I took 14 units during the day, 12 at night. Different schools, so they don't know. I didn't tell them I was going to another school. And then I was studying for the MCATs at the same time. And I did Princeton Review, which was cool. It was good. They had their course is usually like 2.5, 3 months. Well, I signed up for this one that was 4 months, so I got an extra month of training. So my schedule, Monday through Friday, that last semester, was I started at school at 7 in the morning. I didn't get home, so I left around 6:30 in the morning. Didn't get home until 10:30 at night. Monday through Friday. Saturday, gave 8 hours to studying for the MCAT, and if I needed to catch up on homework and stuff. And then Sunday I took off. Sunday I went to church, I just relaxed with the family and stuff. But it wasn't just stressful on me. This was stressful on the whole family. And Molly was in school too, but now she's like a single parent and, dealing with all this stuff. And I remember one day she was kind of having a breakdown. It happens rarely. But she's kind of having a breakdown, and she's just looked at me and said, "Tell me this is going to be worth it." And I said, "It's going to be worth it." I didn't even know if I would ever get released to go to medical school, but I was determined that I had to do this. So the day I take the MCAT, in the military, you show up early or you're late, right? Well, I showed up to San Diego State. That's where the test was given. I showed up 2 hours early, and I was ready. I stood there. Nobody showed up. No proctors, no other test takers, nothing. Until maybe 5 minutes before was like the first person. The proctors didn't even show up to start to set up the test until probably like 5 to 10 minutes late. I had skipped my morning coffee that day, and I had a killer migraine. I was so nauseous, I couldn't see. I go in, I start taking the test, and Molly was planning on showing up to provide me lunch at the break. So I'm taking the test, I'm like so miserable. And I get the break, I go out, and Molly and the kids are there, they're all excited, and I'm like, I can't finish this. I can't finish this test. And I get that way sometimes, these incapacitating migraines. I know some other people experience them too. And I did not eat my sandwich. I lied there. I had a couple sips of soda, but I lied there under a tree Molly had like a little jacket or something that I put over my eyes. And I just lied there. The kids and Molly sat there with me for the half-hour break. And I got up, I'm like, I don't think I could do it. And Molly said, "You have to do it. This is it." And I went in and I finished, and the preparation paid off. All that hard work. I might not have done my best, but I did pretty damn well, and I was happy with it, and I was glad because I never had to take the test again. Got into med school. It was just a bad experience, but Molly was like that with me. Whenever I started to veer off, like, I can't do this, or something, Molly was always there, like, do you want this or not? She didn't care if I said, no, I don't want it. She was fine with me being a machinist mate on the subs, actually. It was my desire to get out of that environment. Even though it was a tough life for Molly, she was always supportive of me. And she still is. She put this whole thing together. Yes, the command generally, you can get people to help put a ceremony together and stuff. Molly just did it. She wasn't waiting for anybody. And look at this. I mean, I didn't expect all of you here. I mean, this is really, really a blessing. There's a lot of others of you that have helped me. A few of my mentors and advisors are here, and I'd like to recognize them real quick. Michelle Ringen and Dottie Crummy. They're nursing school leaders that showed me more than just learning math and science. They taught me how to talk to strangers, to get information out of people, and to show that I care in what I do. Ted Hendrickson. Ted. For several years, I was trying to figure out how many years. It was probably like a solid 4 years, and then off and on maybe for a couple years after that. Ted and I met every Thursday morning for hour and a half, and had breakfast, and we just talked about stuff. Ted had kids that were around my kids' age. And he also had some older kids. So he had some experience in being a parent. And things I learned from Ted were to be an example for your kids. They will do the right thing when the time comes. But to be steadfast and to be that example. And also, Ted, he really showed me how to live a purpose-driven life. To not just do a job for a paycheck, but to do a job and parent and hobbies and everything else you do for a purpose. Thank you, Ted. Dr. Steve Sparks, see you back there. Thank you for coming. I haven't seen you since I went off to medical school. But you did write a letter of recommendation for me. Thank you very much. When Steve came to San Diego, I was still enlisted, and he took me on as a friend. Here he is, a vascular surgeon. I'm just, sub guy, but interested in medicine, nursing, interested in doing something different. And Steve took me on, and you know what? Steve he is very humble, shared with me his own challenges, which no matter what challenges you think you have, other people have worse challenges. And Steve was such an inspiration to me and gave me an example of what I could do. Steve turned things around in his life, became a vascular surgeon, and then when faced with other adversity, overcame that and did wonderful things for mankind. Went and volunteered his time in Cameroon, teaching medical students, performing surgeries, not for the big bucks, but because he has a heart for it. I'm glad you're back in San Diego. Commander Joel Apides. I know you're here. Didn't see you. Well, Dr. Apides, maybe he's not here. He's a neurologist, and he inspired in me the art of the history and physical exam. I had some great teachers, but he demonstrated taking a history and an exam that makes the difference in diagnosing a patient. Dr. Leslie Israel, thank you for coming. Dr. Israel, Leslie, you showed me the importance of being thorough and complete. And I want you to know I hold to that today. Everything I do, I try to be thorough and complete. And if I am not, it is a complete oversight. But that is my goal. I do not leave blanks. I fill in every little square and every little comment. Dr. Israel, you also taught me that we should celebrate with our patients. In our field, people come to us sometimes and they're nervous because they're getting a new job and they're afraid that they might not pass the medical. Getting a new job is a very positive thing for somebody. Even if they hate their job next week, it's a very positive moment. And you taught me to congratulate people, and I still do that. Dr. Nancy Huth. Nancy, I was impressed by you years before I met you because I came across a note that you had written on a patient. You had a very good find and really saved a patient, and it really impressed me. And then to be able to work with you these last 3 years, being on the COVID team with you, as stressful as that was, and Dr. Huth is a civilian. She's not expected to work 24/7, but she does. And and does it without complaining. A couple times she thought she was complaining, and I was just like, come on, bring it, because I just need you to act like a normal person for a little bit. Like, I'm overwhelmed. Please, like, tell me you need some help or something. But Nancy, it's been a real pleasure working with you, and I look forward to our friendship in the future. There are some others that really made a difference along the way, and I'm just going to mention them by name that aren't here. Machinist Mate First Class Zippy Zadalis. Machinist Mate Second Class Greg Lupton. They were both on the USS Lapon with me. MM1 Rick Rasmussen. MM2 Todd Dundas. They were both on the Salt Lake City with me, USS Salt Lake City. Commander Pete Charest. I met him when I was still enlisted, and he was a lieutenant, also a Mustang. I met him running, and we ran for about 6 months every week together. And him being in the nursing field in the Navy Nurse Corps was an inspiration to me. Commander Dave Schiffman. Dave was really my first officer friend. When he knew he shouldn't have enlisted friends, and I knew I shouldn't have officer friends, but we were peers in our relationship. Captain David Llewellyn, neurologist, now at Camp Pendleton. Dr. Ellen McIntosh, Dr. Fred Fung, Dr. Robert Phelan. They're from my residency program at UC Irvine. Coach Jim Vance, who helped me learn to race faster in triathlons. Commander Wendy Stone, who was the best boss I ever had in the Navy. But I have one other person that I want to recognize, and that's my sister. Captain Diana Dunnigan. She went to medical school 10 years before I did. She went to USIS. She's 2 years younger than me, and I followed her 12 years, later, basically, in her footsteps. I wouldn't have known about the Navy's medical school or military medical school and what it offers and all these things, except she was an example for me. My sister, we came from the same household, right? That's what I tried to figure out. She had straight A's through junior high, high school, went to UCLA, went to medical school. And I never really gave her any credit for that. Because I never really saw anything wrong with getting a C. And getting a D was only partially wrong because I still got a credit. But I learned F's do not average well because you get zeros. Zeros average very poorly. But Diana, thank you for being there, encouraged me when I was kind of questioning whether it was worth it as well. And thank you all for coming, but that's all I have for today. I really look forward to the reception with you.